In this video, I'm going to show you how to jailbreak any PS3 on firmware version 4.90. So Sony has released update 4.90 for the PlayStation 3 system that has adjusted some stuff in the Blu-ray player. That way it can continue to play new Blu-ray discs as they come out, I guess. But it also means that a new version of PS3 Hen has been released to coincide with 4.90. So if you are on the latest 4.90 firmware and want to modify your stock PS3 system to be able to do some fun things like backup loading or Homebrew, you are perfectly capable of doing so. And the PS3 scene is just so rich with so many fun things you could do with the system that it is definitely worth doing, especially now that the system itself is pretty much winding down and just going to see weird Blu-ray title updates like this, honestly. But as with all console mods, you do this process at your own risk. So if you are attempting to dive into this and something goes wrong, do be aware that there could be potential risks involved. The risks are really minimal, but it's never good to say they're impossible. So if you do this, do be aware of the risks and be aware that if you mess something up, it's on you. I take no responsibility for any problems that you may encounter. But let's go ahead and dive into the process of jailbreaking any version of the PS3. Now, as we get started, there are a few things you are going to need, the first of which being a PS3 system. If you don't have a PS3 system, I don't know how you plan on hacking it, so yeah, you're going to need one of those. And it could be any model of PS3, so fat, slim, super slim should not matter. And again, this is covering PS3 Hen installation, so if you happen to have an original fat or one of the 2,500 slims that can install custom firmware, it is recommended to go that route so you can get a little bit more functionality out of your systems, but you don't have to. You can still use Hen if you'd rather go that route. The next thing you're going to need is an official Sony 6-axis or DualShock 3 controller, because if your system is already on version 4.90, you're going to need to use the recovery menu to get the hybrid firmware installed that will then allow you to exploit the system. Unfortunately, most third-party controllers do not work in the recovery menu, thus the official controller is necessary. And the last thing that you're going to need physically is a USB drive formatted into FAT32 for you to store your system update and any things that you wish to install during the process. So let's go ahead and start with getting our USB drive formatted into FAT32. So the easiest way to get a USB drive formatted into FAT32 is to get one that is 32 gigabytes or under. Compatibility might be a little bit higher in this size range as well, because the PS3 is not compatible with all USB drives. But if you have a USB drive on hand, get it formatted into FAT32, plug it into your PS3, and see if it gets recognized. So I've had luck with external SSDs, I've had luck with different types of thumb drives, but there's also a number of thumb drives and SD card readers and hard drives that just would not work with the PS3. So for today's example, I'm using a 4 gig USB thumb drive. So here it is within my PC. So we just need to get this formatted to FAT32. So you can just right click on it in Windows, Format, FAT32. You can do 32 kilobyte clusters. If you want to, default seems to work as well, but I think 32 kilobyte clusters are recommended. So just go ahead and format that one. And there we go. If you are using a USB drive that is larger than 32 gigs, you can use a program like GUI Format to get that formatted into FAT32, and there will be a link to that in the description below. And once that drive's ready to go, just gonna get that opened up, minimize it real quick, because now we're gonna download some stuff that we need. So first of all, we're going to head to ps3exploit.me. This will be linked in the description below, so you're still on your PC at this point, just remember that. So anyway, the first thing we're going to notice here is the big fat red warning sign here. We want to know the risks, so do not enable factory service mode with PS3 Hen. It will break stuff. And you do not want to install CCAPI with PS3 Hen. It will break stuff. Pay attention to the warnings. All right, good, moving on. So the first thing we need to download is the 4.90.1 hybrid firmware from Junie. So big shout out to Junie for the new hybrid firmware and the rest of the PS3 exploit team. Thank you for doing all this so that way we can have fun with our systems. Y'all are amazing. But anyway, you can click on the 4.90.1 hybrid firmware link here. It will bring you to a PSX place download link here, so you can download the mega file right there, and then just click on the download button. I've already downloaded it today, so apparently it's just Okay, whatever. Just click on save there, I guess. But yeah, just click on the download button and you'll get it. And the next thing we're going to download is the latest version of WebMAN Mod from Aldol's Tools. So link to this will be in the description below again. So we're just going to download the WebMAN Mod 1.47.44 installer. And shoot, why not? Let's go ahead and grab Retroarch while we're at it too. Alright, now that everything's downloaded, we're just going to go ahead and get hybrid firmware 4.90.1 extracted here. So it's in zip format, so you should be able to use just about everything, but I'm just going to use 7-zip here. And once it is extracted, you'll see that there is a PS3 folder here, and it's in the proper format update that PS3 needs. So we're just going to go ahead and open up our USB drive here, and drag the PS3 folder right into the root, so that way we can apply this update. So again, PS3 update files need to be in a folder named PS3, all caps, update, all caps, followed by PS3 updat.pup. And while this finishes copying over, there are some warnings that you need to be made aware of in regards to Blu-ray disc playback and Blu-ray media playback. So there are 3 files here that are removed from the hybrid firmware in order to restore the WebKit exploits. So these 3 files are missing from the firmware update, thus breaking Blu-ray player support. So if you use your PS3 to play Blu-ray movies still, you are going to have to source and replace these files after installation. If you don't use your PS3 for Blu-ray media playback, you don't have to worry about it, but it is something to be made aware of. But this is your warning that doing this process will temporarily break Blu-ray playback. Alright, now that that's finished copying over, I'm just going to go ahead and get the WebMAN Mod package file over onto my USB drive. And Retroarch is a fun little extra package added onto that USB drive as well. And then to demo Retroarch later, let's add some Super Nintendo games there as well. And there we go. So now that everything's in place, we're ready to exploit our PS3 and do some fun stuff with it. So take the USB drive out of your computer, get your PS3 booted up, and we'll continue on. Alright, so the first step to exploiting our PS3 is to get that hybrid firmware installed. So get your USB drive inserted into your PS3 and make sure that it is able to be detected by the system. So mine is showing up right there, as you can see in these different subcategories. But go ahead and check your PS3 system information and see what version of PS3 system software you are running. If you are on a version that is below 4.90, you can update to the hybrid firmware directly within the XMB. So this system in particular is on 4.82. So you can just go up, do a system update, and update it via the storage media. And it will pop up with the following information about how the update information was found: 4.90.1, hybrid firmware, hybrid and exploitable, location, USB drive. And then you could go through the firmware installation process as you normally would. Now, if your PS3 is already on 4.90, things are a bit more complicated. So you will have to boot your PS3 into recovery mode. So to do this, just power off your system. And now, hold down your power button on your PS3 until the system shuts itself off again. And now, hold the power button down until you hear 2 quick beeps. And once you hear the 2 quick beeps, let go of the power button, and you should be booting up into recovery mode. And you'll be greeted by a message here saying to connect your controller using a USB cable and to press the PS button. So again, this is only doable with official Sony controllers. But once you have your controller connected and turned on, you'll see down there at the bottom, number 6, System Update. So you can select this, and it'll ask you to connect a storage drive that has whatever version of the firmware you're on or later, and to press the start and select buttons at the same time. So got that inserted already with the 4.90.1 hybrid firmware, so just going to press start and select. And once it has found the update file, it will automatically begin the preparation for updating to your hybrid firmware. So just be patient with it while it does its thing. And after the system reboots, you'll be taken to the PS3 update screen here. So just turn your controller on and let it begin doing the update process. And after the update has been applied and restarted, if you had to use recovery mode, you're going to need to reset your HDMI device output types. So just go ahead and do so now. There we go, that's better. But with the hybrid firmware installed, we are one step closer to jailbreaking our PS3 system. So, very cool. So at this point, if you happen to have a PlayStation 3 that you have your PSN account on, you'll want to make sure that the system is activated within your PlayStation network settings. This particular Super Slim that I'm using for this video demonstration is going to only be used for Homebrew devices, so I don't have a PSN account on it. But if you have digital games and other things like that, do make sure that your system is activated before continuing on past this point, because having a PS3 that is Homebrew enabled is a ban risk on PlayStation Network even today, so do be aware of that. So what I would recommend doing, if you are doing this setup process, head over to the accounts page, create a new user, and name it something like Homebrew, so that way it won't automatically log into PSN. You don't have to worry about your main PSN account and all that. That way you can use it to activate Homebrew and do all of your modded stuff that you were planning on doing. And then you can clear the custom firmware and history files once you have WebMAN installed, and you can go back to your main PSN account if desired whenever you do online stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and get Hen installed now. So heading over to the internet browser, we're going to need to get this a little bit set up if you haven't done so before. So the first thing you need to do is just press triangle to bring up the web browser options here. And we're going to go over to Tools. First thing we're going to do is confirm browser close and turn this off. Head back into Tools. Click on Homepage. And we're going to change the home page over to a blank screen. That way it doesn't take up as much memory, because PS3 Hen is a memory specific exploit. So a lot of things can kind of make it break. So starting with a blank page is optimal. Now going back into Tools again, we're going to delete our cookies and our cache. Now just go ahead and quit out of your PS3's internet browser and load back in. Now pressing start on your controller, you could type in a new internet address here, and we are going to be typing in PS3 exploit.me. And then press start once that's entered, and it should take you to the PS3 exploit page here. So this is a fresh install, so we don't have to worry about the plugin system stuff here. So just press back on that, that's fine. Now, if for whatever reason you type in PS3 exploit.me and it doesn't show up, or it's having issues loading, PSX Place actually has a forum thread that shows the status of the site, and this will be linked in the YouTube video description below for you to check. Otherwise, your ISP might be blocking it. But anyway, once we are on the site, just head up to the part here that says PS3 Hen and click on Hen Auto Installer. And this will load up the auto installer page. It'll download a PS3 Hen prerequisite file for you. Now, what I recommend doing here is to press the select button on your controller and add the PS3 Hen auto installer page to your bookmarks, because chances are when you try to do it the first time, it's going to fail. So for example, you can click on auto install Hen here. Oh, look at that, it's just having some problems there. There we go. And hey, look at that. Initialization failed. Big surprise. Anyway, if that happens, close out of your internet browser. Now relaunch it. Press the select button on your controller and go to your auto installer bookmark. You don't need to download the file again, so just press circle, and then click on auto install hen once again. And hey, look at that, this time it worked perfectly. Well, there we go. Hen failure, restart PS3 and retry. Alright, so just do what it says. Restart your PS3 and retry. Alright, with the PS3 rebooted, just gonna go back into the internet browser and do this one more time. Auto install hen. And there we go. Hen has successfully installed this time, and we'll download its package file to continue the installation process. And then once the download's complete, just press circle to go back and let it install. Alright, and once the install is completed, just press circle to back out again, and your system will automatically reboot. And now when your system reboots, if you head over to your game tab, you'll see a new enable hen option has appeared. And clicking on this will enable Homebrew and backup loading capabilities for your PS3 systems. And there we go. So one of the first things I recommend after you get hen enabled for the first time is to actually go into the package manager here. Go down to Install Package Files, Standard, and this is where you'll see those package files you put on the root of your USB drive. So the first thing you're going to want to install is WebMAN Mod, the latest version, so let's go ahead and get that done. And once that install is finished, you'll see a new WebMAN Mod installer here. So to finalize its installation, hold down L1 and start the program. And once it's finished installing, it'll automatically reboot your PS3 system. So from here, you could just go back over and re-enable hen. And you'll see that WebMAN Mod now loads alongside it, and you'll see that there is an option for WebMAN Games and a WebMAN Setup option here. And this is where you'll go in to configure settings for your backups for PS1 and PS3 games. And if you're on a backwards compatible PS2, you could do PS2 stuff pretty easily in there. But for non-backwards compatible PS2 models, there is a lot more setup involved that I am hoping to cover more in the future. But it's just not going to be a part of this video to keep it more focused on the exploit process itself. But for just one last quick fun demonstration here, let's go back into the package files here and install the latest community build of Retroarch for PS3. There we go, that installation finally finished. So hey, look at that, Retroarch, let's go. Oh gosh, it's using R GUI, nasty. Anyway, hold on, I'm just gonna get this updated real quick. There we go, that's more like it. Anyway. Looks like all the cores are already downloaded. Perfect. That means that we can just go ahead and demo a game real quick. But there we go. Super Mario World up and running on a PS3 Super Slim using Retroarch. So that's pretty nifty stuff. Needs a lot of configuration to make it more optimal, but I mean, it's pretty cool. Still super cool that it's even possible in the first place. Yep, there we go. But with WebMAN Mod installed onto your PS3, it gives you a lot of power in how you want to run things. It also gives you access to things like a built-in FTP server. So for example, if you hold select on a folder, for example, it'll bring up your VSH menu for WebMAN, which gives you a lot of your system information here. So it shows you how much free space you have on your internal hard drive. It shows you how much space you have on a USB drive if you have one connected, as well as your IP address for connecting to your FTP so you can access it through a computer. But you get some access to some pretty cool stuff here as well, like backing up any Blu-ray discs to your internal hard drive for playing on backups. A file manager so you can copy things over to the internal hard drive from an external drive. So for example, if I wanted to copy over my Super Nintendo games to the internal drive, choose my USB drive, go over to my Super Nintendo games folder, copy that, go back up to the root, go into my hard drive, go into the ROMs folder, and then I could just paste it on in. Now this is a pretty basic file manager. There's a lot better ones that you can do, but it gets the job done for anyone that doesn't want to install a bunch of different things. And again, you can set up where your stuff looks for games and ROM files and all that other things to make your experience way nicer, but I'm hoping to cover WebMAN in a more extensive fashion in a different video. But one of the most important features of WebMAN to remember is to disable your custom firmware and delete your history files if you plan on going into a PSN-enabled account. And the hotkey to do this is R2 and triangle. And it'll tell you that your syscalls and history files have been deleted, and then you're a little bit safer to go online with a PSN-enabled account. Again, not 100% safe, but helps out a bit. Now, one last tip you might be interested in is to have your PS3 boot directly to the Enable Hen button here instead of the What's New button. So if you head over to your System Settings, you could go down to the Display What's New option here and turn it off. Now, whenever you boot up your PS3, it'll default to the Enable Hen option right here, so you could just select it and get started with your backup launching and homebrew needs. But that is going to do it for this one. Homebrew is such a great thing on PS3, and the ability to launch backups of your owned Blu-ray games is another top-notch quality. You can run games from your internal hard drive, USB, over a network, and you don't have to worry about if your drive laser goes out or if your disks start dying over time. But thank you so much as always for watching this video. I hope it helps you get your PS3 jailbroken and running to your desires. But here at the end, I do have a couple of big favors to ask. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit that like or dislike button, depending on how much you like today's tutorial, as well as that sub button and notification bell so you can see when new videos go live on the channel. Loads of content coming your way, and I'd always love to have you along for the ride. For anyone interested in further helping support the channel, you can also check out that join button here on YouTube or the Patreon link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Little goes a long way to keep this place up and running and bringing all of this content directly to you. Big shout out to all of our current backers. Thank you so much for believing in what we do here and helping us keep it going. You are the truest of champs, and we just appreciate you all so very much. But until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, you all stay awesome, keep on gaming, and we'll see you back next video.